Thought today we chat a little bit about some of the things that we're doing at BetterFleet. As we can appreciate, there's a lot of challenges in transitioning to zero emission vehicles. Through some of the tools that we've developed, we're able to help them. Fleets are certainly challenged with putting zero emission vehicles on the road, but challenges of electrification certainly impact the entire team. Across every role, every discipline within a fleet operation. Part of our mission at BetterFleet certainly is supporting through this journey from end to end. We've been saving our customers millions. Just looking at how they approach this transition and looking at the long-term business sustainability and what that means to them. So across from planning, procurement, implementation, operation, early on, look at optimal kind of fleet transition planning and what we prefer to call a framework. Really, we see it as a living framework that gets refreshed. We start with managing budgets and policies, looking at that grounding EV policy development, and then also the budget forecast that goes with it. Really, the solutions and the platform that we've developed are through engagement with our customers. We're very proud in our approach that it's really research and development driven. Every year, 50% of our profit is reinvested back into our tools and making them better through that collaboration and through talking with our customers and trying to develop products that speak to them. Our platform is singular, so we look at that transition from planning, optimization, and managing complex zero emission fleets. So looking at first at planning your fleet transition, understanding all those impacts from an infrastructure perspective, TCO, the things we've covered, then procuring the vehicles and the charging equipment and making sure that, again, we're buying the right stuff and we're not overbuilding and overspending. And then managing those vehicles when they're actually in operation and making sure that they're being refueled in the most optimal manner. So really looking at solving some of those that complexity and creating a seamless experience for our customers across that journey. So solving things like, well, the vehicles aren't performing the way we expected. The energy market integration is a lot more complex and costly and more risky than we thought. Just the way that we dispatch vehicles changes too, and making sure that those vehicles are ready for dispatch kind of pushes up in the severity list too. Looking then at are there options where we can then take away those complexities and pain points through maybe some of our digital twinning technology, where we'll look at what an existing operation is today and how do we transition it to that future EV fleet, and what's the most painless route to get there. Then looking at things like real-time integration with the dispatch of those vehicles and battery management and energy markets too. Certainly, we're starting to see a lot more interest in microgrids and how we advance that and do that control, but also looking at overall building control and building management systems is starting to get a lot more traction too. So making sure that we have a holistic kind of approach to site to load management. We would call a multi-physics digital twin, very fancy terminology, but essentially it means looking at through machine learning and through AI, pulling in a lot of different variables into our analysis. So we look at what is what is the topography of the land, all these kind of things that would impact the actual range. And we did in essence, we look at different variables, also grid capacity, looking at distributed energy and microgrids, as I mentioned, and schedule information, and just making sure that it all works. We look at how are things going to perform when you actually put them in service. So one of the aspects of our platform is to look at how will your routes perform, or if it's not a route based, but more of a on-demand or variable type of scheduling. We can look at that too, but essentially doing some type of emulation that simulates how the vehicles are operated today as ICE vehicles and how they would be operated in the future as either EV or fuel cell. So really making that digital twin and looking at which routes or which runs are best served as ZEVs, and picking off that low-hanging fruit, and then looking at in terms of technology upgrades and things like that, when potentially in the future could we solve for these things, naturally just through technology development. But essentially, we can push off some of the harder to electrify routes into the future. From there, we can create long-term asset plans, and they include forecasting for both the infrastructure. We anticipate what vehicles will be available in the future, and then also looking at technology improvement curves and how quickly will the market catch up to some of our needs just through natural development. From there, we can create long-term asset plans, and then also looking at managing new asset classes, vehicles and batteries, and then also how that overlays with new depot information and the requirements around operating those facilities. So we developed essentially this emulation tool and simulation tool that helps them visualize this. So if, let's say, a vehicle goes out in the morning and it comes back midday, does that vehicle need to be charged back up to go out again in the afternoon, or is it good and we just match it to that piece of work that the vehicle needs to do in the afternoon? And if so, where does that vehicle park so it doesn't get blocked by other vehicles? So some of the yard management aspect around it. Looking at modeling energy requirements and some of that kind of advanced grid planning, we're able to look at how much power or hydrogen the facility will need to accommodate zero emission vehicles. Determining what size, if we're looking at battery storage, and what size BESS do we need on site to be able to support that, or size hydrogen tank do we need for the vehicle. Charging strategies, we can then look at how do we do some peak shaving and load shifting and move things to the overnight, typically when things are cheaper. So second half of the platform then is actually the operational and management of the vehicle. So live monitoring of chargers and vehicles, and just being able to make sure that the vehicles can achieve the service they need to. So our platform is open API. We're agnostic. We're independent. We work with everybody. So looking, really taking control of your chargers and your energy consumption through charge management, and some of the algorithms behind the scenes that do the work. I mean, we're looking at plans are one thing, real life is another thing. So day of things change, and the system has to be able to recalibrate and say, okay, well, today we're not going to meet this because. And in the case of our platform, we've actually now kind of taken a step further. We're able to look at past charging behavior of vehicles and then overlay based on tomorrow's weather forecast what our anticipated range for the next day will be. Advanced reporting capabilities, monitoring the transition and how it's going. Certainly when these platforms are married together where we're collecting charge management, we're able then to use that particular fleet operators' data back into the planning loop. So as they deploy more vehicles, they're using their own data to do iterations from their data. Then looking at planning for parking and dispatch, it's pretty important that these vehicles be ready, obviously for service, and ready to depart at the right time. So helping folks visualize that and showing them in the platform how vehicles need to park. But then also being able to select the right vehicle at the right time and dispatch that to connect that ecosystem and covers all those essential touch points in the optimization. I mean, some folks have described charge management systems as kind of the operational brain. It's now the new software piece that sits on top of a lot of the other software packages that in the past you've relied on for operations, but now you need this additional layer to make sure that the electrification strategy then works with all the subcomponents, but then also optimizing schedules and maintenance and safety. We get asked about driver behavior a lot and how do we monitor that. You can have the same vehicle but two different drivers and you have a much different experience from that. So how do we coach and use that information to make folks more aware of their activities, but then also looking at sustainability reporting and just overall energy assurance and tracking mileage and making sure that we're optimizing that fleet. A lot of times we're starting to see now fleet owners asking us also that, can you help us create a motor pool where maybe we don't need designated vehicles anymore for departments and we can do a shared pool and help us identify the underutilized assets and how do we maximize that. We operate at BetterFleet is, clarity and value in every step of the zero emission fleet journey. We pride ourselves on really working in partnership with our customers in a collaborative fashion.